Ever since Trump announced his military takeover of Washington, D.C., people in that city have been protesting every single day. On the first day that Trump announced that show of force in our nation's capital, people marched through the streets that first day, chanting, among other things, "Danger, danger, there's a fascist in the White House." They carried signs and a giant banner that said, "Trump must go now." Local D.C. residents also turned out on behalf of a grassroots group called Free D.C. Quote, "D.C. is our home. Trump can't have it." That particular rally ended with people chanting, "I believe that we will win! I believe that we will win! I believe that." The very next day, protesters unfurled a giant banner along an overpass above 16th Street, which is a central thoroughfare to the White House. It said, "Be brave, demand democracy." On the other lane there, it says, "Resist tyranny." By the middle of last week, bystanders were turning out at all these militarized checkpoints that Trump has set up around the city. Crowds chanting, "Get off our streets" and "Take off your mask." By the following morning, there were more protesters outside the White House carrying signs like, "The criminals are in the White House, not the streets of D.C." As of Friday afternoon, there was yet more local residents showing up in droves at, among other places, the city's police headquarters after they learned of Trump's effort, a now failed effort, to try to name a Trump administration official to be head of the D.C. police. Federal judge put a stop to that. At a National Women's Soccer League game that night, there were over 10,000 fans there watching their home team, the Washington Spirit. During the game, they chanted, "Free DC, free DC." Following morning, on Saturday morning, the weather was super, super hot in Washington, but DC still turned out in big numbers, taking over the streets from DuPont Circle to the National Mall, including passing all the military vehicles and full uniform National Guard troops that have inexplicably been deployed there by the president. Once again, they held signs that say, "Free DC." Some people also showed up in costume, despite the heat. This guy dressed up like Donald Trump, holding a sign that says, "Fascism wears diapers now." The look on the cop's face next to that sign is somehow a perfect set of bookends there. Day after day after day after day, the president's military takeover of D.C. has been met with direct action in these really big protests like the one we saw on Saturday, also in smaller ones as well. This was an activist in D.C. yesterday out in front of the National Guard vehicle. Her sign says, "What Trump order won't you obey?" And, I don't know if it's related or not, but I think Americans just really don't like being threatened with their own military.